that comes up with, you know, if you have an idea or a campaign or you're looking to reach a specific audience, I'm really can help build out a strategy. Also help with the development of marketing, collateral design, all those things that would support it. So a wealth of experience over the past 15 years in just kind of every realm of marketing communications. So that's kind of the gist of the overview. I know David had talked about some of the members that I have worked with, but I think it's pretty not self-explanatory, but I think that kind of gives you a good overview of what I can provide, or if there's any needs that you have, I'm happy to connect. I'm also happy to answer any questions that you might have right now.
Does anybody have any questions for Eric? Yes.
Did someone have a question? I didn't hear what the question was.
They had said, Sharon said, as we build out our toolkits, you'll help us with the graphics on that. And I told her yes.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody else? All right. Well, thank you, Eric. And if anybody does want to utilize the services, or you have questions about what you have coming up and whether it fits in Eric's wheelhouse, feel free to reach out to me or Chloe, and we can get you plugged in. So next, we're going to have Jim Hoopla talk about what he does as our grant evaluator and the conversation that he had as we re-signed his contracts for this next year.
Okay, but keep the volume down. Did you? I know, it's fun stuff. For those that don't know me, my name is Jim Hoopla. I'm the evaluator for CCI, and I've been, God, how long have I been with CCI? Let's just say a week. Let's just say I'm new. Been with CCI for a while now. What I do is I take, we're going to talk more about it today when we talk about mission statements. I take everything that CCI does and kind of compare it back to the mission statement to make sure that what they're doing is, well, it's doing what it's supposed to be doing according to the stakeholders and according to the grant. The biggest funding source that comes in for CCI obviously is the DFC grant, the Drug Free Communities grant. So everything tailored to that really falls back to the action plan. For those that are DFC grantees, there's really two main goals for CCI. That's community collaboration, and then also the substance abuse for the state. And since CCI doesn't do direct interventions within the state, they do everything through the coalitions. It's really what are they doing to help the coalitions meet that specific goal for the state. And so we make sure that everything that we do is tailored back to it. I have a lot of fun with Chloe and David. They're a blast to work with. But anyway, it's kind of fun. Also, we've been kind of offering some of these training portions to it. I'm also the department chair, and I'm actually been a faculty member for now 13 years at Brigham Young University, Idaho, and I teach public health and health promotion. Also a master's CHES, which is a certified health education specialist for, and it's just broad certification for the state, or sorry, within the nation. And so I provide some trainings at times just on different things, like we'll talk about mission statements. I'll show you guys a slide today actually that goes over all of the things I teach. My love, I guess, as I teach a drugs abuse and abuse class, which is really fun. Sometimes I feel like I teach my students how to do the drugs and how to deal them than I do about the risks that are involved within it. And so, and then I also teach a health behaviors class, and then I'm actually developing a new class right now, which is called health disparities. It's working with different populations and what they struggle with. And the one I think is going to be really fun is the LGBTQ plus and what they struggle with health and resources that are available, just to kind of level the playing field among different race, ethnic, and gender. So fun stuff. It's really fun. I love what I do. So. Anything else? Okay, good. I want to shut up. So.
Does anybody have any questions for Jim? One of the things I like about Jim's approach is he doesn't let Chloe and I run down the road for 6 months doing stuff, and then we come back to him and say, okay, now evaluate this and make it fit. And he doesn't then come back and tell us, oh, well, you this. Like one of the conversations that we've had with something new that I've been trying to bring to the services that we provide is the podcast. Jim asked me some very poignant questions like, okay, where does this tie back to our action plan? Where is this in our action plan? Because we need to make sure that everything, where's the valuation point? So what I like is that I have him, I can tell him, this is what I'm doing, and we can talk through how I can make sure that still trying to provide a new service to the coalitions, but at the same time, making sure that it fits into what we're doing with the funding source. So he's fun to work with, it's easy to work with, and he brings a wealth of knowledge. And he and I are going to be hammering out a lot of the details that are going to be finishing up our marijuana toolkit that we're going to be utilizing to educate people, as we have what looks like 3 ballot initiatives potentially that are going to be circulating this year. So.
Do you have any kind of data as far as what the state trends are? Yeah, what is that looking like compared to years past? And we know in our communities, because we do that research all the time, but statewide,
It depends on what you guys do with the community. I mean, what survey are you guys using locally? And okay, so the Idaho Healthy Youth Survey. There's 2 other ones you can use statewide just to kind of compare those. Idaho Healthy Youth Survey usually compares with the Idaho, but those numbers went down, I think in 19 when we ran the last one. There was a lot less schools that participated in it. So you had a lot less that was out there. And then what you do is you compare those back with the ARBIS, which is your Youth Risk Behavior Survey. The CDC puts one out, the University of Michigan. And so all of those really tie together, but the CDC's youth survey that they put out scares me a little bit. You'd think the CDC would put a better survey out, but I want to say they pull from 900 people, like youth, that they've surveyed within 23 states. Idaho is one of those. But their numbers for some reason coincide with some of the other ones that we do locally within the state. So the trends that I'm seeing is alcohol was going down. Now it's leveled off and it's starting to climb a little bit, which we thought we were doing pretty good with an alcohol. Alcohol is starting to level off and starting to go back up. Vaping obviously is still up, depending on when these policies kind of go into place. Hopefully that might curtail that a little bit more, but it's not. It's still on that rise. That's probably one of your biggest one. The other one that's surprising for Idaho is inhalants. Inhalants are starting to go up, which is higher than, in some communities are higher than the state average. So inhalants is an interesting because it's a cheap, easy high, especially among younger group around your 6th to 8th grade. Marijuana is still high among your seniors. When you do the 6th, 8, what is it, 6th, 8th, or 6th, 8th, 10th, 12th? Yeah. So it's higher within your 12th, but those are really where your biggest trends are. Everything else is pretty flat, pretty straightforward. Just off the cuff right now. Does that help?
All right, we're ready for subcommittee reports. Workforce.
Before we do that, Sharon, I'm sorry. We do have the vacant seats up for. So we do have Kelly seat and Sharon's position, because Sharon's was filling a half half-year position are up for re-election this year. So we will be, Chloe and I will be fielding and we're hoping that Kelly and Sharon both want to remain because we love working with you guys and you guys, we know you. So it's cool. But if anybody else wants to take on a position on the board, we will be fielding nominations via email, and we will be if there are any if anybody is, we have more than one person for one position, then we will have those elections in June during when everyone comes together for the Northwest Alcohol Conference in Boise.
It's July.
Is it July? I thought
It's in June?
It's June.
June.
Yeah,
Oh.
June. I was like, I took off June.
Last year was July.
Yeah. I took off
Oh, you
June.
scared me. I looked at it like half a dozen times the other day.
No, it's June.
So, if nobody has to like yell out right this second, but if you are interested, please reach out to Chloe or I, and we can get you guys served. I believe Sharon is interested in running in being co-chair again, correct?
I could do another year. One thing that we do need to change is in our bylaws, it doesn't have them alternating years. I mean, they have them running the same time as the other. You had mentioned
Well, they
trying
have-
to alternate them.
So we have so your guys's two positions are this year, and then next year it will be the secretary and the chair.
And we need to change our bylaws so it reflects that, because right now it doesn't reflect that.
Okay.
So. And I'm willing to, I don't know about Kelly, but I'm willing to go another.
I don't want to. I'd
You
like
don't?
somebody else to do that.
So we are looking for your treasurer, correct? Correct. So we are looking for a new treasurer. We thank you, Kelly, for, especially with COVID, with sticking through all the craziness. But so if anyone is interested, let me know. Speak now or send me an email later. And now we can move on to the subcommittee reports.
All right. Workforce Development and Meeting Planning Subcommittee. Who has that?
That is Rebecca and Charlene's committee. Neither one of them are here right now, but I can say that we do not have a webinar for May because of this in-person meeting, but we do have, we will have, is it Katie that's doing the mini training from Idaho? So next for the monthly meeting, we're having Katie doing our mini training from Idaho Drug for Youth, and then Monty is doing where we are with marijuana, the trends, what we saw in the legislative session, and that will be on June 9th. I don't know if we hammered out the time. Yeah, I believe.
Jeff, June 9th or June 7th?
June 9th, Wednesday, June 9th. We'll send out more information on the time, but I don't think we hammered out the time as of yet. But other than that, I don't think they have anything else. Oh, and then we do have, we have started the registration for the grant writing workshop with Debbie Evans that we'll be doing in August. It's a four-week training. And what's nice is you will lead that training with a not only knowledge of writing a grant, but you will also have written a grant for the Idaho Wildlife License Plate Fund to do prevention activities in regards to that grant opportunity. So you'll leave it with an opportunity to submit a grant if you so please for state funding. So we do have, I think we have 6 teams open. We could look at more if we get more input, but I think we have 2 or 3 already signed up. So if you guys go to the Community Coalitions of Idaho.org website, click on events, and the registration is done through the website. But other than that, that's all we have for the workforce committee.
Okay, internal organization, it is just, we are in need of updating our bylaws, mostly because as you have, when you read through the bylaws, it was made back in 2012. And it was initially, and it's based on 5 people making all of the decisions instead of the coalition having a vote in it. It just has a board kind of a program. So I called the Secretary of State and he said, we have our articles of incorporation. We don't file our bylaws with them. And basically the bylaws are just for our purpose to keep us in line and keep a structure and keep things running efficiently and cleanly. And the one thing that has really changed in the old bylaws, it did not just cover the bylaws, but the statement of purpose. It talked about how to do funds, how to do all of these other things instead of just being a purpose. So the one thing that I would like you to look through is our statement of purpose. And this is just to change from this old organization to one that uses the SPF program, the Strategic Planning Framework. And this may need some wordsmithing, but I'm just going to read over this one section really quick. You'll have time to go home, and if you have a problem with the way it's worded, you can send suggestions, just because it's kind of our fundamental reason for being here, and we want to make sure we get it right. The new one says, the purpose of CCI is to decrease substance abuse within the state of Idaho by providing a forum for community coalitions to come together to promote prevention and share ideas. The ultimate goal is to become change agents in the lives of Idahoans to bring about healthier beliefs, perceptions, knowledge, and behavior regarding substance abuse. Through the strategic planning framework, we will create an action plan after careful assessment, build coalition capacity from at least 12 different sectors, and implement those strategies with extensive evaluation. We will build a sustainable coalition which will serve Idaho communities on a continual basis. So this is just ideas of what maybe our new statement of purpose would be. And it doesn't have to be done today, but it'll give you something to go home and say, oh, I don't like the way that's worded, or we've missed something really big. Just throwing it out there for your review. Legislative Subcommittee.
Yes, I do. So legislative update, hemp legalization or industrial hemp, that bill has passed and been signed by the governor. Senator Groh's constitutional amendment did not pass. It did not pass by 5 votes in the House. So there's that. I haven't touched base with him to see kind of what next session will look like because they're still in this session. It's running long. What I think is important is for us to have a conversation about what our education is going to look like regarding cannabis, while the pro-marijuana continue to collect their signatures for the ballot initiative for 2022. And then there are more plans for more ballot initiatives as well. So I think that it's really important to have all of us together, streamlining the cannabis education that we had talked about, David mentioned earlier, and making sure that that's going to work for each of our communities as well. I brought the legislative pamphlet that we developed together. They're on the table over there. And then there's a couple other pamphlets that I got off of the legislators' website that I highly recommend. I know we're still winding down towards the end of this session, but I figured since we're all coming together, I had a few extras and I'd bring them, and then you've got something in hand with you to remind you to reach out. This is also the time to go back and look at some of those key bills and look at who voted which ways and reach out as an educational resource to them, thanking them for their service, no matter how they voted, and that you are a resource for prevention and factual education. that's a great way to start those relationships or continue those if you haven't started. Does anybody else have any updates? So reaching out, it's the follow-up after the session ends is important. And then our plans for what our cannabis education are going to be, will be the next steps kind of in between session. And that's the perfect time to enhance those relationships. And maybe Marco will have some tips for us too, once he finishes. Does anybody else have any comments or questions regarding legislation?
Yeah, actually, I did have so I had an opportunity to speak with, so when they did, when the governor signed the hemp bill, there was a local company that was on the news that they were excited about the ability to grow commercial hemp. And so I reached out to the company, to the actual guy who was interviewed, and asked him for some clarity on some of the statements that he made on the news. And he made it sound, he's very knowledgeable on the hemp product, and he said that he would be more than open to coming to one of our meetings or coming to any of your meetings virtually or in person and talking about the upsides that he sees to the hemp hearts for a healthier way to get protein, I guess he said. And some of the, I guess there's some restrictions built in. And from what he was saying as a grower, he said, if I was a pro marijuana person that wanted to grow a bunch of marijuana, I don't want hemp in the region because hemp would cross-pollinate with a marijuana grow and it would hurt their potency and almost make it worthless. So I did reach out and have a conversation with him and kind of get some questions answered and let him know that those of us in the prevention field were tracking this issue and we're interested in learning more. And so if that is, if anyone, if that is something we'd be interested in, I could have him come, speak at one of our meetings or even pass on his information and set up if you guys would like, any of your communities would like to hear more about that issue. And then two, we did learn that we had heard from our federal legislators that with the December COVID bill that there was an increase to the block grant funding. And there was also an increase to the amount of money that ODP will be setting aside for they will have for prevention from the block grant. So they're going from it's in between like 1.6, 1.8 million they normally get for their grants. They're going to have 2.5 million for this next funding year. So and that's a big deal because they have to spend, like, if it's one of these things, if you don't spend the money, they're going to start looking at the allocation. So those, if anybody has any projects that have gotten, you haven't gotten approved, if you haven't gotten a good score with ODP on your block grants, here's another opportunity to go back and let them know that you're serious and you'd like to look at it. And then two, would love to help you guys strengthen your campaigns, whether it's having one of our strong grant writers look at your grant and see where you might have kind of been stronger, or if CCI could partner with you to strengthen your grants and ways of showing a partnership. We can help you guys with some of those points that Marianne talked about a couple of months ago that they're looking for when they look at those block grants. So, and then we do have I have had conversations with one of our coalitions that is, I'm not sure if he still is, but David Roth had made mention that he was interested in joining a couple of committees, and this one was one of them. The legislative committee. So David Roth did express that in a conversation I had with him when he came on as BYCD's executive director. I think, was there another subcommittee you were interested in too?
That was the one that I'm most interested in. I believe you had said workforce development.
Okay, so, but there's another, and he has a lot of experience when it comes to, he's kind of like me. He loves the political side of life. And so we'll be it's amenable to Kendall. We'll be adding him into our subcommittee so that we can get more diversity and better input into what we're doing.
But I have, I don't know. Oh, I know what you're talking about. Am I good?
You're good.
Okay, the other one. Okay, okay, sorry, guys. So anyway, on the CCI dashboard, the information dashboard, we've had a couple of folks who have gone in and provided the different contact information. I wonder if maybe what we should be doing is there a shared link? Chloe, can you help me on that? Do we have a shared link? Everybody has a shared link. It's actually pretty neat because it gives us an opportunity to go in and list events that we have coming up. And, you know, opportunity for other coalitions to, you know, learn more about that event. Just, it's helpful, you know, to get ideas. Because I know through the COVID, boy, it was really hard to connect with the community. So, you know, any kind of ideas that you would have, that would be there, and we could just network with each other. Any training needs that we have, and any upcoming CCI dates. So love to just, I think, make it that more dynamic and have everybody using that. But we haven't, you know, met again because we basically just created the dashboard.
You know, one thing that we even talked about in our last staff meeting is we have these toolkits, the marijuana toolkit, and I think we would like to get the prescription drug toolkit and underage drinking. Are those the only three that we have in our?
So we have, I
And so
don't,
what we were hoping is that some of you that may have been on these other committees and kind of, it was either seasonal or part-time thing, if you would consider being on a specific toolkit, help with one of the toolkits, we would really like that as well. So if you have any time that you have a passion for the marijuana or prescription drug, go ahead.
And a lot of
Turn your volume down.
the work that we're going to be doing tomorrow with John as well is going to look at these subcommittees and look at our strategic plan moving forward. So we'll address a lot of that tomorrow as well, just so everyone knows.
It might be something you have a passion for, one of those. All right, partner updates. I'm not sure I have an update partner list. David, do you want to do that section?
yes.
So we'll start with our PFS coordinators. Do we have any online? Is anybody here a PFS coordinator? Mallory, you are, right? No. Okay.
So, at the health department, we have these care bags that are available for anyone in our health district. We have a partnership for success grant. They're really nice. You can be able to put your pills, your liquid, or your patches in there. All you have to do is add warm water halfway, and it actually renders the medication unusable. So if you can't go to a drop box, like the gold standard, and this is a really great thing to do. We're working with different organizations. So right now, like Fremont County EMS has these, and they go out on runs and they can reach out to people that they come across. So we're working with law enforcement, public safety, we've given them out schools, different counseling centers, different organizations. So these are available. You can order them online. If you're not in our health district, a lot of the other health districts do have them. So I know Central District Health, so Region 4 has them. Pocatello, so Southeastern Idaho Public Health, they have them. Region 3 has them. So you can find a lot of these in some of these other regions. And then something else that we're doing, kind of not complete. My lids are being final right now, but something that we're offering is these drug overdose rescue kits. And these are, again, free for organizations. They have a CPR mask and they have a little instruction manual. And the lid is a lock block with a thumb lock, so it can be easily opened with a safety seal to let organizations know when it's last being opened. And we work with them to get in our can for free from Idaho Harm Reduction Project. And again, this is an outreach of Central District Health, and District 4 has them. And then Idaho Harm Reduction Project can give them to other organizations, is what I'm hearing. I think that they have this money. But anyone in District 7, request these, and we can get them out to organizations. We do a NARC training along with it, so that people know how to actually administer what's in the box and how to use it. But this is just a really great tool to help make sure, anywhere there's an AED would be a really great place to put these. And then we're working to get these bags available to the community as well. These bags, we're really hoping to get them in, like, especially with the law enforcement. So I talked to some law enforcement and they don't always have space on their desk for the narc. So if they can have it in their car in a specific bag in a specific place, and creating that policy within their department. So that way they know, okay, if I'm in my car, my Narcan is out, but I go into my buddy's car, where can I find it? So that they're not looking in a million places. So helping with that, as well as this is really good for really anyone. We have 100 on the way, so we're really excited for that. So anyone that's interested, when we get them in the district, we can give them out. And then Idaho Harm Reduction Project School provides these to people outside of the district. And Idaho Harm Reduction Project provides Narcan and naloxone for muscular for free to individuals and organizations. That's a nice thing to know if your organization wants it. So that's kind of the update for PFS and then the DOT program.
Awesome. Thank you.
Oh, and I brought some of these. I brought 10 of these. So we don't want them.
Oh, cool. If anybody's interested, you can leave with your own doTERRA patch from the training. So it's like a swag bag that we didn't even know you were going to get. All right, that's all the partners that we have on. Everybody else is here from region.
All right.
Came on really slow, as I know we all felt with COVID, but we just had Daphne and I an interview with CBS News last Monday, talked to them about an hour, and they didn't include much of what we hoped that they would about the coalition. It was more about drug and alcohol concerns in our Caldwell County area, but at least we got a little bit of press on it. It was kind of funny because we couldn't get the laptop to work, so we were doing the interview from the phone, and it was square on with Daphne, and I was around the corner, so Daphne was speaking very directly and professional, and I was like, yeah, by the way, I think marijuana is an issue too, but it was kind of funny. We at least got some press on that, and Marianne from the Idaho Office of Drug Policy was very interested and very encouraging. Then our next event we jumped into, which was the catalyst for the CBS News interview, was our town hall meeting. And we had, what would we think, attend?
Well, we had about 16.
About 16 attend. We've got a YouTube. You can downstream it. It's Brian Taylor, Canyon County Drug Trends, and it's had 148 views, and it streamed about a week ago. And we had a little hiccup there. We had the link that we had been published and gotten the word out, and then that morning it changed. So I think it was kind of the worst kind of sabotage. But some people that were trying to log in contacted our chair, Dawn from St. Luke's, and she was able to get some of the folks in. And then we had Drug Take Back Day. That was fun. Daphne and I sat at the little table, and they did a little Facebook Live, and we talked about why we were there and had our little shirts on. And yeah, and that's what I was going to say. Southwest District Health provided us with some of those doTERRA packets. And also, I know Jeff Cap, he was the Southwest District Health CPS grant coordinator, and he just retired. And so in our region, I always want to jump in on that, but the coalition and the CPS chair works pretty close together. But Charlene is an active chair now for that, and we're actually meeting this next week. I've always felt like our coalition and our behavioral health board, we're not really in sync, kind of a left arm and right arm, but even not really, maybe even on a different body, I don't know. But I'm the CPS there, and I've been on the behavioral health board for about 20 years, and we now are finally, I think, with the new chair and Camille from the Idaho Office of Drug Policy and Daphne and I and our chair with our 2C coalition board will be getting together and maybe we'll finally be on the same page. It seems like a duh, but for us, it's just been kind of a challenge. So we are planning a community event, a family event to come up in June again, and our drunk tricycle and fatal vision goggles. I don't know if that's an old kind of thing to do, but I just want to extend to any other coalition that would like to borrow our drunk tricycle. It's got a spot in my garage now, and I've got a lot of other bicycles in there and the goggles as well. So if you're close to us, let us know and you can borrow it. And I'd even be happy to deliver it if you'd like, because it'll fit in the back of my SUV. So that's about all I can think of. Anything else? You and I we're not usually sitting together, and she's like, oh, you know, like that. So that's kind of awesome to have the prodding and the extra support. So that's all for Region 3. Just put in there just the points that you feel are relevant to the CCI.
All right, can you hear me? Okay. All right, Sylvia from Valley County, Region 4, and I'm going to let Kendall talk about her region, well, since she's in the same region, but very different. Valley County, we've been focusing on Planet Youth, which is the Icelandic prevention approach. We have surveyed 2 schools, Cascade and New Meadows, and we bleed over into New Meadows. And actually our whole region, eventually we'd like to add, we're hoping to, we'll resurvey in 2023. We'd like to add McCall-Donley School District, Council, and Riggins with the other 2 so that we have a regional picture of our students, our youth. So our data is being cleaned and processed right now by the Icelandic team, researchers. Should be ready soon. And once that happens, everybody will go through a post-survey training. They will talk to us specifically about the data, break it down for the communities. In each of the communities that we surveyed so far, Cascade has a great team in place, and we're working on putting together a team in New Meadows. It's taken a little bit longer, but that's what Shannon and I have been focusing on. And so once that data is received and they learn how to use, understand their data, and then they'll move them into strategies and how, like, which strategies to use. And so that's where we're at on that. We created a subcommittee within IPA to address the sustainability of IPA. It's not cheap. And so we are applying for the DFC grant to focus on that piece of it. We just did the Take Back Day as well. This isn't going to sound like a lot to you guys that live in bigger areas, but McCall took a whopping 27 pounds. That doesn't sound like much, but from McCall it is. Community Cascades even less. I don't have the exact numbers on that, but they did also, they recently put a Sharps box in their foyer or whatever you call that entryway. It was filled as well, so we're excited about that. It feels like our region is like opening up. You just feel that energy of everything opening, and so we've got lots of other things kind of in the works as well, but those are the 2 main things, the main thing we've been focusing on.
All right, and since Marco.
Also for Region 4, the Meridian Anti-Drug Coalition, we're working with our partners at West Ada School District to try and make sure that we have the best possible participation in the Idaho Healthy Youth Survey. I will be attending a counselor meeting for all the counselors in the district to talk about how we use those funds and direct application for Red Ribbon Week, parent prevention packets, drug tests, some of the other strategies that we do. We also had the drug take back. We partnered with Blue Cross of Idaho and held it in at their headquarters in the parking lot, and also had contributions from Central District Health. We, rather than actually handing out the overdose prevention kits or rescue kits. We did that at the October take back, and we didn't end up giving any out. But I think it's important information for people to know about the resources that are available. So Idaho Harm Reduction put together a quick little bookmark with information so that people can then know where to go get their overdose prevention rescue packet. And then also the doTERRA packets as well. And then the lock boxes that are available through working with Region 4. Again, I don't know which region offers which resources, but so great partnerships. It's awesome to be back in the community and partnering with people to offer those prevention strategies again. We also just had on Saturday night, in partnership with Meridian Parks and Recreation, focusing on the Unplug and Be Outside national campaign. We had Monty Stiles come, and he's done this for about 4 years now, where he talks about his natural high or passion for photography. And we walk through the park in the evening and do photography. So that was great. We had, I think, 12 people show up, which was really good considering there was a major thunderstorm like 45 minutes before we started. So, and then as far as the coalition and executive committee, as I mentioned, the volunteer appreciation, along with that, each year we do a satisfaction survey that is anonymous. It correlated a little bit with the Kaizen assessment. We don't do that anymore, but it's an opportunity to provide feedback to me as the director and the staff, and try to enhance the work of the coalition. And then we're excited to be planning for movie night in June.
Sharon, can I add a couple things? We actually did get a chance during 420 to partner with Drug Free Idaho and Monty to provide some outreach in regards to the continued dangers and perceptions of harm of marijuana use. And then we were able to work with Drug Free Idaho, and with the help of Kendall, we were able to speak to the Zamwows, it's a company that does like plants and fertilizer and stuff. They were running a 420 campaign. They had some very misleading advertising on their social media. We were able to have a conversation with them, and they did pull down one of the most offending posts. So we were able to, through some education and conversations, let them know what those things meant to those of us in the community and the families that work with that shop at their store. And so they pulled that down after getting some education from us. So it was nice to finally start working with Drug Free Idaho again. Got a chance to work with Rob. Thankful for his and Kendall's ability to send me stuff in the midst of a crazy day where there was already so much going on, to make sure that we knew what other things are going on out there. So that was another thing that we kind of co-tackled in Region 4. They actually, if you're from the region, or if you've ever heard their ads, they're very tongue-in-cheek with things. Like, they're doing some Mother's Day stuff, and I don't think they meant anything really by it. Speaking with the company, they were kind of blown away that anybody was upset about it. They didn't see it, I guess. And really, we talk about the perceptions of harm. This is the problem when we run around saying that a harmful drug is medicine, is we give everybody the idea that it's okay and safe. So we're allowed to start playing games. And so one of the things that we need to do as consumers is, if a company that we use is going across the lines, we need to speak out. Even though someone's going to call us a boomer or say that we're crazy, we're speaking out for our families. I mean, while I was in the middle of having conversations, my daughter had her friend over, and her friend's like, yeah, me and my brother heard that ad, and we were like, that's gross. These are middle schoolers, so they get it, thankfully. But so the company they didn't know. So I took a very respectful tone and just let them know that the issues that we had, and I'd love to have a conversation about removing as much of what they could as possible. We did see the most egregious posts come down. So I think that continuing to have the conversations, and I really see CCI as being the voice for everybody, and reaching out to our legislators, large companies and stuff. It'll be a good way for them to be educated on what we want for these types of things here in Idaho. So. Coalition to it. Feel free to let us know what you see that out there that's going on, because really I was so deep into everything. Had Rob and Kendall not told me about what SamWows was doing, that might have slipped right past me. And I live in the area, so I'm hearing the radio ads. I'm just not actively listening because I got 800 million things going on up here while I'm trying to drive. So.
He trolls on Facebook.
I've been one of those people too that will actually stand in those committees in the legislature and speak out. I'm just really proud of her.
I just thought it was really interesting when I first received the copy of that social media post. I thought originally someone had hijacked Zamzo's link.
She thought it was kind of a joke.
And I thought, well, this is crazy, you know, but it took a minute for me to really realize that it was them. So it was just really shocking to me.
David Roth and also Becky can help me with this next part because Marco didn't get a report that I know of together, right? So we'll just talk just briefly, very briefly about what's happening in our area. One of our coalition's big goals is to start engaging parents better. So we're getting a parent newsletter out to school so that they would actually send them to the parents if we got it to the school. So we're going to be hitting some things. Would love to get a couple of things from the marijuana toolkit to throw in there with that as well. And anyway, we're going to be talking at parent orientation. We have mailings for parents. And this next month, we have our big event, Salmon's Got Talent and Prevention Awards. And we're getting a naloxone training, I hope, Mallory, up in Salmon in May is for our emergency services and some of our counseling services as well. June 16th, we're excited to be working with David on this from BYDC, but we are going to have a parent webinar available for the teenage brain, the amazing and perplexing teenage brain. So we're excited for that partnership. Do you have things you want to include from?
Or swamped. One of the things, and when David was talking about maybe having them step up and take the fall, I'm talking with our sheriff. Got a new sheriff that started in January. Hey, he'd been a part of the sheriff's organization for quite a while, but he was elected this year. And we are going to crack down on all of our CBD shops. But we don't know that we necessarily want to be on the front lines taking the flack for that. And yet we want to make sure that it's backed by coalition and research and not just law enforcement. So maybe that's something we could talk to our sheriff and see if I don't know if he's going to talk to sheriffs in other counties. I mean, obviously, you know, he can do Bonneville County, but it doesn't do any good to crack down on Bonneville County if they can run to Rigby or somewhere else. So maybe CCI could step up in that spot and be the bad guy there.
Well, yeah, and that's actually something in my experience with other coalitions in that other state that we won't talk about, we were the coalition that wrote the powerful social host ordinance, and we also wrote the ordinance on how to deal with synthetic drugs, tackling it from a marketing aspect. So it doesn't care what the chemical compound was of it, is the fact that you are marketing a substance to be consumed. The fact that you have it for sale is enough to make it a misdemeanor offense. So I would love to dialogue with you more, connect with your sheriff and help. We'd love to help them in as long as it falls in line with what we're supposed to be doing.
Well, FDA's big time crackdown right now on CBD claims that are inaccurate.
Right.
So,
I know they're going at it that way, but we have CBD shops obviously popping up on every corner, probably your communities too. But we want to start cracking down on, first of all, they're illegal, but how many of them are selling things that are above the 0.03% or whatever that they claim to be selling? And so
we'd love to see
start
what
cracking down on
we can
that.
do to help you guys partner with that, and we're willing to do whatever we can. So
that might be a funding, a way that, I don't know if you guys can, but I know for us, we've done cannabis compliance checks for 2 years in a row now with the blessing of the chief and the mayor and council. And one of it depends on your budget or whatever, but it does cost money to go in there. The impact team, so undercover, goes in and does purchases at the different retail establishments, and then we have to send them out of state because you can't test for the THC levels in anything other than dry plant material here in Idaho.
Oh.
So lab fees are expensive, or can be, and then also identifying a lab that you trust. So, but yeah, so we've done that a couple of years now, and then we run it kind of like our alcohol compliance checks, and then we send out a letter to those places, the establishments that were compliant, and then we'll do a press release that sometimes will go out, sometimes not, but that's the goal, then, to say, we're doing this. And, these retail establishments, the products that we purchased there came back within federal legal limits. Because of course, like you said.
Is Sam the new sheriff you're talking about? Oh, yes. I would love to work with Sam on this. And and the nice part is working with MADC, if he is looking for resources, I know I can piggyback off of what Kendall has already done over in Meridian. And I know the police department is very big on sharing what they've learned and who we use and trust and stuff. And so, yeah.
all right.
And then another thing, we're so privileged that we have Marco where Marco's at and can have that daily contact with, what's happening there. I know he's really working hard on trying to get some sustainable funding for coalitions. So if he can pull that off, that would be a huge blessing to have him over there working on that. And then he's also working with, I believe it's Attorney General, don't quote me on that, but he's working on whoever it is that will be verifying the signatures and making sure that, because part of their policy is that they have to be able to release all of the financial costs. And for them, they're going, yeah, there's no financial burden to anybody. We're just going to make money on it. So he's given them a list of like 20 different things that they need to have them double check. So even if they come through with all of the signatures, they'll say, okay, so what's it going to cost for this? And what's it going to cost for this? And a whole list of things that we're hoping that even if they get the signatures, they'll then kick it back and say, we need, a financial report on all of those expenses. So there's some things that he's working on that are going to be really helpful.
He was very impactful when it came to keeping certain legislation from getting out of committees and getting to this crazy year vote. So super appreciative of Marco and the work that he's done as a very freshman legislator. He really jumped in and got his hands dirty very, very quickly. So
yeah, well, this is the first time in all of the years I've been working with the legislators that we've had somebody that knows anything about, the science of drug use in there, talking to them, behind closed doors. We can send them all the letters we want, but it's just another email. So to have somebody that, they're breaking bread with on a regular basis and doing dinners at night that he can tell them is going to be a huge help for us as coalitions.
Yes. You know, one thing, oh, David, did you have something?
Well, I just wanted to say a couple things that we've
Okay.
done over the last. So I've only been at BYDC a little over a month, but we've had a really busy month. We've seen a lot in our area, the underground parties like the senior skip day and stuff like that. So we partnered with the Idaho Division's Education Department. We did a sticker campaign and sticker 5,000 bags, as you know, to just remind parents and even though their kids are seniors and graduating and that this isn't the time to be providing alcohol and that they face fines. Our drug take back was very successful. Almost 300 people and 353 pounds of drugs. Good job. And handed out many donuts. And then we're super excited working with the Coalition in Salmon. We're actually going to run with it. We've rented a movie theater to do webinar action in the theater, and then we're setting up a fair outside. We're inviting, I'll reach out to you by weeks, we'll be inviting all of the community organizations to set up tables. And our idea is that we thought parents are so sick of Zoom that we wanted to be able to offer like a hybrid model so that they can come and talk to different groups in the communities, and then also participate in the webinar as well. So we're super excited about that on the 16th. And we're cruising right along.
All right. Well, welcome. Also, has anybody, some of you haven't had a chance to speak. Has anybody have a moment for Big Barrow and Still that hasn't been covered by your regions maybe? Something new that you've tried? I know Amber's done a couple of really fun things with our kids that, do you want to talk us?
Yeah, sure. I guess mine's not working, so I'll have to probably use Sharon's. But I don't know, we've done lots of things. So mainly what I do is, I mean, I work with the community too, but youth is huge in what we do or what we focus on. And so a lot of things is, again, building up those leaders in the school so that they can go places that we can't. And that has been really big. We have done a lot of fun activities lately. There we go. We've done a lot of fun activities lately. We try to think outside of the box because a lot of times it's the same old thing. So youth don't want to come to the activities that are the same old thing. Sometimes repetitive is really, really good with the youth. They like it if it's like a game or something, but then a lot of times not. So we've tried some new things lately. I don't know, maybe if I can show that there. We just did this one last week. Yeah. It's the Amazing Challenge. It was really fun. And so because we can't do as many indoor activities, it was an outdoor activity. And what it was students, came up with their groups and we had a good turnout. And they had to run from different station to different station. It was like the Amazing Race, but it was a minute to win it. So what they would do is they run to a station. They'd have to do a minute to win a game. They'd get a clue for their next station and do it. And then they'd run all the way to the end. And it was all over town and they had lots of fun. And then, I don't know, we did a tie-dye activity. I also really like making posters, by the way. Yeah. So, yeah, we did a tie-dye activity and we were only allowed 50 students, but thankfully the place that we kind of rented we had 2 different rooms. So we had 50 students show up, but between the 2, we had tie-dye going on in one room and then I had a movie set up in the other room. And so we just kind of switched it back and forth and it was a good turnout. But we do lots of things, and it's
Your film festival.
Yeah, so a huge thing we do every year is we do a film festival. Unfortunately, this year it doesn't look the same because our school's not allowing assemblies yet. So what we do is that the youth turn in different films to us, and it's great because it works with their creativity. They just have to have a positive message of some sort. It cannot be negative. And they turn it in, and then we do a overall showing of it. This year it's going to be during our Flex, which is, what else is that called? We're going to show it during our kind of like homeroom classes. And so they'll sit through and each teacher will kind of press play and it'll show each of the film and then they'll pick their favorite and we'll do a People's Choice Award. And the winners of that actually get shown at Salmon's Got Talent, which we're doing May 25th. So, and then we got approved for that, which is really great. Again, that's our fundraiser that we kind of really, really need because youth come for food and our grant doesn't cover food. So if we have food there, they will come. And we've really grown a lot, actually. It's been really great. We started out pretty small and we've grown really pretty well. We've lost some during COVID, but they're coming back. So that's pretty great. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else want to? Kelly, how's it going up there?
Pretty good. Natasha, do you want to talk about your family night and life you're planning?
Sure. So, when my kids were little, we went to Clarkston Night Out, which is fire, ambulance, police officers, and it was a chance for the kids to get to know them and, you know, toot the horns and all that. And I wanted to do that, but on a bigger scale, because that's just me. And so we're doing that, but I also added county commissioners, our drug treatment program people will be down there. Pastors from different churches will be down there. There's gonna be bouncy castles and games for the kids, and we're gonna hand out a lot of pamphlets, information. From Cottonwood, I have a camper coming. It's called the Red Flag Camper, and I'm making that adults only because the kids don't have an idea. I don't want to just hand it to them. But they take parents to the trailer, show Heidi rolls of clothes, where drugs can be hid. Amazon, you can buy all kinds of stuff on Amazon. So it's just educating parents on how to kind of help their kids not get a hold of this stuff. And we have a live band coming from Reno, Nevada, to play. So it's from 3 to 8, and we're going to take up the whole entire park. So I hope to make it an event that we do every year.
That's wonderful.
And everybody will have something about saying no to drugs and alcohol at their booths.
Cool. All right. Well, that sounds great. Well, we are out of time, and just want to thank everyone for participating. Our next meeting will be June 17th. Charlene should be back. June 7th. I meant 7th.
First Monday.
First Monday. And do you guys have anything to add? Are you good? So is it ready to eat now? Is that?
Yes, can we get a motion to adjourn?
Do we need a motion? I second that.
Awesome. So let's check I think the food should be ready right up.
I told her we were clean.
Oh, there, okay. This morning, breakfast, I thought was free. So I went down there, it was like $10. Oh, vouchers. Did you not use your vouchers? I didn't get a voucher. I paid for it because I didn't know. Was there one for each day? Maybe they'll give it back. Take that tomorrow because I don't eat breakfast. Well, I don't normally, but I was like for egg for an omelet. I was like, it's $10 for an omelet.
Yes, lunch is ready right out here.
There might be one in mine. I didn't notice it.
There should have been one in here.
Okay, it might be in there. I just thought it was cards. I didn't know. I was like, I went down there and I wasn't expecting it. I was like, oh, okay, $10 for eggs. I always thought
You
it
should
was
have
like,
came over and could have got your breakfast bar.